Just heard the Google lady say this meeting is being recorded. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I will get started here. So my name is Jessie Perkins, Executive Director of the Bethel Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm happy to welcome you to this 9th edition of the Lunchbox Zoom series with the Mahoosic Sustainable Tourism Committee. So please, if you're not speaking, make sure you're on mute so we don't pick up your background noise. And you heard from the Google lady or the Zoom lady that the session is being recorded. I'd like to send out a special welcome to those of us joining for the first time. Actually, we do have a few first timers today. And we're getting more visibility. It's been an interesting couple of months. You know, we've seen signs go up at trailheads. There's some articles going out, some plans to organize presence at events throughout the rest of the summer and fall. And we've had a film crew from Maine Mountain Media out doing interviews for a video project we're working on to raise visibility. And so several of you have already been interviewed or helped out with that. So thank you so much. And we're going to continue to keep up with our Lunchbox Zoom series, focusing on the pillars through the summer and fall and those efforts. Today, our focus will be on developing visitor experiences in the area. So here's an overview. After I get everybody in here, Robin will introduce what we mean by that, developing a visitor experience and sustainable tourism principles. Hopefully we'll see someone from Mount Abram because they are really developing new programs and services constantly. And if we don't, we'll move right into Alex Carr talking about his new venture with Bethel Adventure Tours, so how he, things that he does and how he thinks about developing the visitor experience. And then a really cool special guest star, Bill Sprengnether, I hope we pronounced that correctly, a consultant we're working with to improve our recreational wayfinding in the area. And he's going to need you guys to engage as we get more into that project. And then an update of where we are on the pledge, and we'll allow some open discussion. So with that, I, again, am keeping an eye on letting people into the waiting room here, and I will turn it over to Robin.
Good afternoon on this beautiful day. As we embarked on our Community Destination Academy and then our summit, we were given a lot of information from David Burrell, our consultant, on the trends in visitor industry throughout the world. And one thing that became very, very obvious is how many people are traveling and are traveling to new places. Obviously, the pandemic put a kind of a kibosh on international travel here into the US and us traveling at other places outside of the US. But what we're seeing most recently is the renewed interest in travel and the by basically the people who are coming here. One thing that we talked about is how important it was in the time of potential over-tourism is to help to provide meaningful and educational experiences for the people who want to come to our area and experience the outdoors, many of whom live in urban environments where they're not familiar with how to safely and respectfully experience the outdoors. So since our tourism principles are honoring this land, exploring wisely, showing respect, being climate conscious, and cultivating community, we think that one of the best ways to help our visitors to embrace those principles is to actually meet them where they are in terms of providing them with an outdoor experience that helps to broaden their understanding of what our outdoors has for them, and having a conversation with them to help them to get the most out of their experience, and also to honor the land and be respectful. One thing I did in preparation for this, and I'll just be very brief, is I consulted with Carol Ann Ouellette, the Director of Outdoor Recreation here in Maine, and she provided me with some statistics that are pretty impressive about the economic impact of guiding and as part of the outdoor recreation industry. And here in Maine, in 2019, the outdoor recreation value-added employment and compensation is almost $3 billion, and provides over 40,000 jobs. So we know that our outdoor recreation industry is a huge part of our economy, and our guides really enrich that part of our economy as a part of the total experience. So Jessie, I'll turn it back to you so you can help to introduce the people who are making that happen.
Thank you very much, Robin. Yeah, this is definitely, with your experience, it's definitely a huge part of our economy here, as we know. That's what we're here to talk about. I actually don't see anyone from Mount Abram in my list of participants here. So they must have gone out biking, or we'll see if they join us. But if I can ask Alex Carr with Bethel Adventure Tours, his guide service, to talk for a few minutes about services that he offers and how he develops those services for visitors based on what they're looking for. So Alex, please take it away.
Thanks, Jessie. First about me, I'm a local. I grew up here, CPS alumni. I went to the military for a few years, came back to Maine, dabbled in fire EMS, town selectman, worked for Maine Adaptive for a few years, and coached at Sunday River for 9 years. And I also was bike tour guide for 9 years before I started Bethel Adventure Tours. So I just wanted to start working for myself, and I saw a gap in what we offer here in Bethel, and a lot of other ski towns offer this kind of service, whether it's Park City, Whistler, Sierra Tahoe, Jackson Hole. And many of them are guide services or group tour services where people are out there just ramming people through tours and scenic vistas. I wanted a more classic Maine guide experience where it was kind of a mix of exposing visitors to the area, but the more pure Maine guide, curated concierge type of experience where people can tell me what they want, and I develop that tour for them, whether it's a local tour for 3 hours, a half-day tour, or a full-day tour. I'm finding that a lot of clients are looking for an experience. They don't know they're looking for an experience. They may think they wanted to see a moose, but they end up being happy seeing a beaver or an eagle, or picking blueberries, or learning about Bethel history, learning about the local Native American history, anything like that. So it may sound a little arrogant, but a lot of clients don't know what they want when they sign up for these experiences, and I give them something unique, and they're usually very happy. So I do focus it on adventure. That's kind of my niche, because that's what I like to do. It doesn't mean that I'm happy to take people out on a scenic drive in a car, but I'd rather be a human powered guide versus, so it may be on a mountain bike through Gabe's territories in the community forest or in Bethel Village trails, or it might be going over to Mount Abram and leading them on a bike tour around their property. Definitely working with Mahoosic Land Trust and Inland Woods and Trails, a little bit with local companies like Bethel Village or Bethel Mountain Bikes, Mount Abram, Sportoma, things like that. Anybody comes to me, they're looking for what they want. I spend about a day going back and forth with them via email or a phone call, and then I propose the tour that they can go on, and then we just embark on that tour. What I've been seeing recently mainly is a lot of people seeking unique experiences, whether it might be snowshoeing, paddling on the Androscoggin, or fat biking on Inland Woods and Trails. They like to see that unique experience. But we'll stop and listen to a hermit thrush, or we'll look at a bald eagle, or we'll look at the muskrat lodge over on North Pond, or we'll try to figure out what's going on with there's erosion of the river, or things like that. Just they don't know that they're looking for, but we do those types of those things. What kind of needs do right now I'm seeing a lot of older people who are coming in, and older, I use that wisely. I'm 52, but it might be people who are starting to feel that they're not as confident in the outdoors as they used to be. There's a lot of fear-based clients, people coming here looking afraid of bears, afraid of bugs, afraid of going out on their own, and they don't know how to navigate on the trails. So I'm getting a lot of those types. I'm getting some more, I want to expose my kids to nature type of clients, which is great. Kind of the principles that I'm trying to work with, maybe this goes with the pillar you're talking about, is just having access to the terrain that we're on, whether it's Mahoosic Land Trust's cooperative properties that they have with the different landowners they work with, or Gabe's landowners that he's working with, and teaching people that these are private areas and that we want to maintain that access. A lot of people don't understand that Maine has some very permissive access rules. So if things aren't posted, you usually have access. Definitely teach leave no trace principles to clients. We might teach some nature ecology and how we can appreciate what we have and what's changing in the climate. For instance, gypsy moths are ravaging our forests around here right now, and you can really see it. I talk a lot about when I'm on the Androscoggin, when I was growing up as a kid, how it was so polluted and you could smell it when we were down there fishing on the water, but now it's a great place to play, swim, fish. So those are the types of things that I'm doing right now. It's an evolving business. It's just me right now, and I'm deliberately going a little bit slow for the first 6 to 8 months. I'm not looking to make this a big group tour type of thing. I'm looking to maybe get a couple extra employees over the next couple of years, but keeping it generally small. All right, that's enough.
Thanks, Alex. I think that you point to some really key things, and honestly, like there's a lot that we locals take for granted, like in terms of just the skills and the knowledge that you need to just go out in the woods. Where are you allowed to go? What's safe? What's not safe? And we also forget like what it's like to be a very beginner. And so I think it's really smart of you to kind of look around and see who's providing what and try to fill in those gaps. And honestly, we could use 100 of you in the area. So thank you so much for that. I think you also point to how important it is for collaborations, like be in touch with the people who are building the trails and maintaining the trails, and help everybody understand what the people are looking for. So thank you very much. I'll move things along to, let's see, I'll go to Gabe Perkins, Executive Director of Inland Woods and Trails, and he will give a couple of minutes on the wayfinding project that he and I and others have been collaborating on, and then introduce Bill Sprengnether, the consultant that we've worked with and are starting to work with, and he'll let you know what he can do and what he needs from all of you. So go ahead, Gabe.
Thanks, Jessie, and thanks everyone for the opportunity to just speak real briefly about recreational wayfinding and sort of the process that we're undergoing to develop a system of wayfinding points and signs in this region. And this entirely spins out of the Community Destination Academy work that we did a year and a half ago. But I want to back up just a little bit to say that at the International Trail Symposiums that I've been to a couple of them in Portland, Oregon and Dayton, Ohio, there's always been presentations from a company called Alta Planning and Design. And I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are great. They're close, they're out of Troy, New York. I want to figure out some way to work with them one day. a flashboard to a grant program from the Northern Forest Center, an idea that my board member Robin Zinchuk put forward about creating a recreational wayfinding concept and putting forth a grant. It was successful. And because Alta had been working in Millinocket, also with the Northern Forest Center, we had good contact information to figure out who to apply to. And so Alta was the successful applicant to our RFP to serve as our, what we're calling Main Street to the Mountains recreational wayfinding system. That's a mouthful. Main Street to the Mountains is probably the most important part of that. But I'm so pleased that that Bill and Alta put forth a great proposal. We're great in the interview stage and have really cool and innovative ways to approach working with and in community to develop these systems that reflect where we are and what we're doing, and it all relates to the pledge. And so that is a bit of an overview. As you know, I mean, Alex has a guide service. Our trail systems are expanding. We're working internally on our own sign system, but there's work that the Land Trust is doing, or Mount Abram, or work that we're doing, or the town of Bethel, or the other community, town of Greenwood, Woodstock. There's a lot cooking there in terms of trail development, and why not bring in someone to help us guide people along on these trails? And so that is where Bill and Alta come into play. And we're going to let Bill kind of take the keys here for a couple minutes and talk about their process, what their expectations are of us as a community for input and decision making. And that's what I've got. I don't know.
Okay, Bill, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here's Bill. Thanks, Bill.
All right, great.
Can you pronounce your name for us? Did I do it right?
You did it correctly.
Yay.
Sprengnether.
Sprengnether. Okay, and
Yep.
you're zooming in to us from where?
I live in Saratoga Springs, New York. Our offices are in Troy, but I haven't been to the office in 16 months or something. So.
Okay, well, yeah, I think you get the record for zooming in from the furthest away. So thank you. Thank you for joining us.
All right,
Take it away.
great. Well, I'm gonna share my screen. Jessie, can you please give me that ability to share my screen? Or Gabe?
I think I just did. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, can everybody see this lovely teal colored slide? I want to, first of all, touch on a couple points that both, well, actually all of our speakers have already brought up. And, you know, there's a common thread, a couple common threads, but one that I'm hearing, not just in your community, but in many communities around the country, from Millinocket to the Catskills in New York to Geneseo and Western New York communities and all the way out in Wisconsin. And that is the need to capture an audience for your outdoor recreational assets and be able to expand the opportunity to utilize and recreate in your community to a more diverse and growing community of people who don't or who haven't necessarily gotten out into the wilderness or into the outdoors in the past. And this can include families with young kids. It can include people from inner cities. It can include recent immigrants who came over from Kosovo. It could include people who are mobility impaired. And it can also, and I think one of the largest groups that are out there are people who are getting older in age. And are no longer able to do the things that they used to do when they were 30 and 40, and they had kids and families, and now they're retired and they want to go back out hiking again. And they find that it's, it's a little bit more difficult than it used to be. And these are themes and threads that I hear spoken about all the time. And so, what I'm going to be talking with your community about is wayfinding. But there are so many other ways that wayfinding and recreation and economic development all tie together to create a comfortable destination for visitors, a place where people feel safe, and a place that provides interpretation of the region's natural and cultural history, so that when visitors come, they gain an understanding and an appreciation for your place. So this is me. My name is Bill Sprengnether, work at Alta. I'm a landscape architect, and my whole driving motivation for doing the work I do is to get people outside. I, kind of poetically like to say I like to build relationships between people and their landscape, but really just getting people outside is what I like to do. So I was hired by your community to help you develop a wayfinding system that will not only help people get people outside, but will also help drive people back to the villages and the business centers and the community centers, so that the outdoor recreation drives economic development as well. This is just a quote taken directly from the RFP that we responded to. It says, Main Street to Mountains will engage a professional design and marketing firm to assess recreational and community assets to create public-facing suite of wayfinding materials to help visitors and residents connect between the emerging recreational assets of the pathway and village-based businesses and cultural amenities. In short, that means let's get them outside and then let's bring them back home to spend money. So we are just beginning this process. And one thing that we are going to be doing during this process is engaging with what we're calling the stakeholder group. And I've asked Jessie and Gabe to help me put together a list of stakeholders who will be responsible for directing and guiding the project, who will provide input, who will give us feedback that will help shape our final wayfinding sign family, so that it reflects the values of your community. And a little bit too far. There we go. That process begins today. You can see here this schedule. We are somewhere in the beginning of month 2 right now, but towards the end of month 2, there you see a bunch of symbols, a couple X's and that yellowish color. That's when I am going to come out to Bethel. We're going to conduct a bunch of stakeholder meetings, and we'll be reviewing the existing wayfinding systems, the graphics. We'll be talking about destinations. We'll be talking about where people want to go, how people want to get there, and we'll be developing really quick conceptual ideas. By September 8th, we'll have an initial draft for the stakeholder committee to review and comment on. It's going to have to be a very quick turnaround, because on September 18th is the Harvest Fest. And that is a event where we have been asked to have posters prepared that the public can review 2 distinctly different wayfinding systems and comment on them, vote which one they like the best, maybe they like bits and pieces of each and they would like to see some sort of combined, whatever it may be. That event, we're also going to be asking members of the stakeholder committee to attend and help staff it, essentially, to collect that information from the public. And I haven't talked to Gabe and Jessie directly about this, but I would imagine we could probably break it up into 2-hour shifts and have 1 or 2 people there at a time so that they can collect information from the public. After that, we'll go into developing our kind of preferred plan and finalizing that by Thanksgiving, essentially. And then putting together a design guide is the final product, a design guide and a placement plan, so that a handful of these signs can be fabricated, placed out in your community, and they can be used as a pilot project for future sign development. Went through all that, and I have this slide that explains it all. Anyway, what you see, these images down on the lower right, these are taken from the sign family, the final sign family that we did for the Katahdin, the Eastern Katahdin region, which was piloted in Millinocket. So that was a similar project in the sense that it was a regional wayfinding solution that could be rolled out in a number of different communities, but it was piloted in one specific place. And that's what this is going to be as well. It's a wayfinding system that will be able to address the entire Mahoosic region as defined by you. And it will be rolled out with a handful of signs in and around the Bethel area. So I've been asked to make this presentation very short. So I would like to ask you if you have any questions or comments, or would like to share anything with me.
Sure. We basically set aside the last 15 minutes of our time here today to do questions and answers. Can I just ask to do one last bullet point before we move into that, Bill?
Sure.
We'll kind of open it up. Our last little bullet point on the agenda was just a quick update on the pledge, and Kat Ingram's going to give us an update on the tally and just a little reminder and a plug to share and take the pledge yourself.
Thanks, Jessie. I'm Catherine, or Kat Ingraham, and I'm working on local outreach for the Mahoosic Way Pledge. So thank you to everyone who's here who has already taken the pledge. We ask that you please share with your friends, family, neighbors, any of your clients that you're bringing outdoors. The more that we can get that information in front of our visitors, the better, and the better experience for the folks that call this community home. So what we've been working on, I think Jessie alluded to a bit, is having a presence at trailheads, at different community events, and doing some one-on-one outreach and group outreach. We'll be at the Art Mart at the beginning of August, the Mahoosic Land Trust's Monarch Festival, and then also the Androscoggin Adventure, which is a new race up and down the Androscoggin River in Rumford. And those are just a couple of the events happening in August in the area. So thanks again for your support, and continue to share the pledge with anyone that you know. We are at about 100 individuals right now, and a couple of organizations and business takers as well. So thank you, and thanks, Jessie.
Thanks, Kat. With that, I'll be happy to open it up for questions or comments. And if you'd rather write it in the chat, I'll try to keep an eye on that as well. So please just chime in if you're comfortable doing so, or just let me know.
Can we let Alex talk about the survey for a second? Just before, I'm sorry.
Alex
Yeah,
Ramey.
I was
Yeah,
just
sorry,
about
Alex
to
Ramey.
put it in the chat.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Alex Ramey. Most of you have not met me before. I live in Arizona. I am a sustainability fellow working for the Northern Forest Center this summer. And one of the projects I get to help out with is evaluating the Mahoosic Way pledge to embrace our place. And one of our methods of doing that is sending out a survey. So if you take the pledge, there will be an email that comes out to you that asks you to take a 2-minute serving us a little bit more information about you and your motivation to take the pledge. We're hoping that this can really help us increase and improve efforts for outreach in the future. And also, just a little fun fact that I learned about pledge taking from environmental psychology research. If you take the pledge, then you are likely to follow through on your commitment if you send it to someone who you care about. Multi-phase studies have proven that this improves the effectiveness of a pledge. So make sure that you follow Kat's advice and share it with your friends.
I guess I was wrong. You're the one zooming in from the furthest away today. Thank you for joining us today. Anyone else?
Jessie, I don't know if it's worth it, but I have a couple pictures of the Dutch-German Waypoint system that I just absolutely love so much that I actually wrote a blog post on it on a bike touring website.
Sure,
But
it sounds like
Bill's-
you just
Bill's-
signed up to be a stakeholder and someone who would like to participate in this process.
I'm sure Bill's familiar with it. It's the Nuke Point or Knock Point pumped system in Germany and in the Netherlands. How do you share the screen now?
If you're on a computer, if you kind of make your icons appear in the bottom of the screen, there should be a green share screen button, I think. It might look different to me as a host. Do you see it?
Yeah.
I love show and tell. This is the bonus of Zoom.
So these are the signs that you see all around. This is a German one, and that's obviously the 99 is a point in space, and each one of these, if you look at it, is a place. So you see, like, this is number 26. This is 18. I think this is the Dutch-German border. So the green ones are German, the blue ones are Dutch. But and you just go from point to point. And I used to, when I'm riding, I used to do massive long distance bike trips, and I would follow these along. I'd say, I just write on a piece of paper, 13, I'd look at this map, say 39, 31, 16, 20, 22, and then 24, and that'll get to me my location. And you just follow these. Let's see. You just follow these signs right here, and they point you to the next point, and love those things. I'm not going to tell you where this blog post is because you don't need to know but if you search on Google, you might find it. But these are great systems, and I would love to see one of those around here. And this would incorporate cycle touring, hiking, horseback riding, cross-country skiing, preferably non-motorized, but probably ATV and snowmobile as well. But that's my input. I'm out.
Thanks, Alex. Bill, is that helpful if you have people who, I mean, I'm kind of a nerd about this. When I go traveling places, I take pictures of the signs just because I think they're pretty and maybe we want to use them someday. I don't know if all of you do that, but that's definitely something I've been known to do.
It's very helpful to get people's opinions of what they like and what they don't. And when I'm there in a couple weeks, we'll be going through an exercise that will start to get at these issues. But if people can bring examples or email me examples of images that they have in mind, that's so helpful. One thing we'll be doing is it's called a visual preference survey, which takes stakeholders through an exercise of asking them preferences about different images. And from that, we can build kind of a trend line of what people in your community find to be appealing and develop a wayfinding system around those ideas. What Alex just shared is a perfect example of something that's wonderfully simple And, you know, something that's simple is often the best solution.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, Alex. Thanks you both. And so when you come here, Bill, this is really about integrating this with our community. And what I loved about the Main Street to the Mountains term is that, sure, we may start in Bethel, but we have every town that we're dealing with has a Main Street and has mountains. So hopefully this can expand to surrounding communities as well as time and fundraising allows. Any other comments, questions?
Jessie?
Yep.
Just a comment. So, you know, as we're building out the spine of the trail system, which is, you know, currently the Bethel Recreational Path going out to now extending to the Valentine Farm, the plans to go from Bethel to Mount Abram, plans to continue on to Sunday River. You know, when you think about people who come here, I mean, there's one thing about our residents who are comfortable in this place, but the people who come here who are, as you know, a few of you have mentioned, you know, simply afraid to go off of the whatever they consider the main artery. And so this wayfinding is going to be so important to help people feel safe. When you think about coming from an urban environment and coming to this place, you know, we don't have, especially in our darker months, we don't have a lot of streetlights, and you know, they're afraid of the dark, afraid of ticks, afraid of getting dirty, afraid of many things. And the more comfortable we can make the very novice outdoor person, the person who just really wants to stick their toe in what they consider the wilderness, something that we wouldn't consider the wilderness at all. But based on where they come from and their familiarity, you know, just going a half a mile into the woods is really very risky for them. And I'm sure Alex has heard these stories from some of his clients as he's trying to figure out what's the appropriate wilderness experience for this particular group. And the more that we can help people to understand, especially, you know, fingers crossed as we're getting closer to post-pandemic, although we're not there yet, we know that, that the healthful, both mental health and physical benefits of just getting outdoors. You know, this whole concept of forest bathing and the benefit of just being in the forest, having your feet actually hit something other than pavement or cement, you know, the energy that the earth gives, and all of the healthful benefits to relieve stress, to help people basically be in a place of happiness is just so critical. And we're really at that point where doing it right with this wayfinding signage and getting more guides to help people to experience it in a positive way is so exciting, and a place that we've been dreaming and thinking about for decades now. So, you know, thank you to everyone who's making this happen.
I'm gonna just jump in, Robin. You again brought up a point that was kind of been a theme here, and it's access for everyone. And there are so many instances where a lot of people who recreate in the out of doors today consider what many of us would consider a very front country experience, like going on a multi-use trail, as kind of a wilderness experience. And for people who are mobility impaired, for a lot of people who are older, for people with strollers, a multi-use trail might be as far into the wilderness as they get. And those types of facilities are becoming more and more popular because of that.
Well, thank you. Working here in a visitor center, Robin mentioned, we're dealing with expectations of people that might be coming from urban environments. What do they expect? But also, people who are avid travelers and have been to other, mountain destinations, for example, and they do wonder, like, I think Alex brought it up too, like they may have gone to a place where, the expectations are this, where they have to be scared of grizzly bears, where they, where they expect this certain kind of trail or this certain kind of thing. And so I see this as an opportunity to really just paint the picture of like, what is the reality here? What are the expectations of a trail user here? So I think it's really important too. And getting back to another thing that Gabe has said is there's just so much growth going on that the longer we wait to do this kind of a thing, the harder it's going to be, because we have to tie together things that already exist. Whereas we can put a plan in place now that can set the framework for whatever comes going forward. So anyway, any other questions, comments? Alex Ramey in the chat says, Bill, is physical accessibility something communicated on wayfinding materials? That is a good question.
It typically isn't, unless a trail or a route is specifically designed or known to be accessible for the mobility impaired or for a particular user group, such as, a trail designed for people who are visually impaired. But it's something that certainly can be communicated very easily through wayfinding. For instance, at a trailhead, if a trail is accessible to the mobility impaired, that's an easily communicated piece of information. On more rugged trails, hiking trails, mountain bike trails, ski trails, those aren't assumed. Those are assumed to not be accessible to all. So they might be rated for green, blue, black in difficulty or some other system, but you'd usually find that any sort of rating for accessibility on either a multi-use trail or if a trail is specifically designed for accessibility.
Alex, I'm really glad you asked that. And Bill, I guess you should both know that we do have an amazing organization right here in town, Maine Adaptive Sports and Recreation. I'm looking out at this crowd, at least 4 of us have worked there in the past. We should make sure that somebody from that organization is involved in this stakeholders, because that various people from that organization have worked with the land trust to make sure that there are accessible trails and what that really means. So, and our pathway as well. So I actually think that's a really good thing to make sure that we include.
Yeah, definitely.
And the definition of accessibility, when you think about it, it's not just people who are amputees or have had cerebral palsy or, folks who we think as, handicapped or need to adapt to. It's other points that have been made as, young families that are pushing their kids in strollers and children on bikes with training wheels and those kinds of things. Those are all accessibility issues. And the more we can be thinking about making more of our trails accessible, the ones that are, more or less level or have very little grade difference, the better it's going to be for the experience of the people who come here. Because, both the elderly and the young also have accessibility needs.
So true. Okay, well, it's 12:45 now. So again, it's way too nice of a day to sit in front of the computer all day, but thank you for joining us. Again, thank you especially to the first timers, for Bill from New York and Alex from Arizona. What a crowd. We will announce a date in August. Our topic I think we're planning to do regional collaboration. From what I understand, our town's select boards are planning to all get together again in August. And this was something that happened pre-pandemic and was kind of an amazing thing. And it's going to happen again. And so it's really wonderful to see that level of coordination. So we'll keep an eye on that. Make sure, again, check out mahoosucway.com. Lots of take the pledge, share the pledge, lots of social media materials. If you need guidance on where to find anything, please reach out to me or Kat. If you want to connect with anybody on this Zoom today and need some contact information, please feel free to reach out to me, Jessie at bethelmaine.com. Alex Ramey is reminding us to take the survey. And boy, there really is a lot going on. I'll say thank you again to all those of you who have been interviewed by our Main Mountain Media crew with this promotional campaign about the pledge that we're working on, and a few more of you may get asked to do that. So anyway, productive summer, and we'll keep on keeping on, and thanks again for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thanks all. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.